Today we're going to talk a little bit about a table saw and looking at my very small shop space. It's necessary for me to have a table saw that fits in a very small space. And so this is the one that I chose. It's a Ridgid and got a good price on it, and it has everything I need. The heavier the table saw, the heavier duty, usually the better you can have as far as cuts and everything, but this one works out for my needs. So for this, we just simply open it up like that and bring it on around. Now, when you're using a table saw, you have several things you want to be careful about. One is keeping your hand well away from the motor and the blade. And one of the ways of doing that is using push sticks. And so I'll demonstrate those. Right now I have these two types of push sticks. And this one, if you'll notice, is a nice grip on that side. This one's a little more expensive, but it really is worth it because it has several things that it does. It can hold both sides of the wood as you're cutting across the saw, and it has a gripper right here that helps tremendously. Has a very narrow edge on this side. It also can have something that sets all the way down on the table right here, and tighten that up, and that gives you an extra support when you on that side, on the left side. So what we're going to do is raise the table saw. We're first going to cut this board this way. Now if you want to do that, you have your miter gauge here, and it can go across. Now we want to raise the blade to just a half of a blade, half of a tip of a blade above our saw. So right about there is where we want to be, maybe a little bit lower. And so if we wanted to cut this, we would simply also, you want to remember your eye protection. And this helps keep the mess from being so great. Hold very carefully, hands away from the blade. Wait till the blade completely stops before you do anything with it. And that makes a very, very nice cut. Another part of the table saw. Okay, so the other one is your fence. This one has it where it simply stays on the table saw, and it is a very, in fact, that's one of the reasons I like this, was because of the fence itself. And so if you wanted to cut a board, and on this saw it has a rule right here, and that rule is pretty accurate. I haven't found it hardly at all off. If you wanted to, you could actually measure the distance from the blade to the fence, and here we have 2 inches distance to get perfectly accurate cut. So as I said, I have 2 handy you can, of course, they give you a push stick with your saw, but and so if I want to use this, I want to make sure I'm not cutting my unit, so I'll pull this on over. So again, this is called the gripper, and made in the USA by Ridgid, and they're probably available on Amazon or at any major building supply store. And so what this does, if you're looking at it, I'm not going to turn on the saw so you can see what I'm doing, but again, this holds it down, it holds it against the fence, and it pushes it forward all at the same time. And that's a good way to saw. If you had this one, you'd do the same thing, remembering you got to hold it a little bit in at the same time, and you can push it right on through. This is called a push stick by Milescraft. If you wanted to pull this closer and run it through, you would have to adjust this here so that it doesn't cut your, I see I did a little bit of cutting there, which I didn't want to do, but accidentally, of course. But what you want to do is you want to get this so that it,
better that than your fingers.
Yeah, better this than your fingers, that's for sure. So that you're far enough away so that you're not hitting the blade. And so if I wanted to run this one through again, a narrower cut, here I have just the tool to do it. And it's holding it on all sides. I'm going to run this one through real quick. And let's see. This one. So if you want to cut this, you simply put your gripper on and you get it so that you are not cutting your gripper part of it. And here we go. We got to lower the blade. Remember, we want to go halfway down a tooth, and there we are. Now another way to push this on through is like this. You want to keep your board in two directions. You want to push it this way, or actually three. You want to keep it down on the saw because it can fly back at you, and you want to be able to keep it up against the fence so it's straight. So each of those directions are really important. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Wait till the saw completely stops before you do anything else. Now we're going to do this again with my gripper, the other gripper, and in this case we want to move all the way back again so we're not cutting our unit, and that gives us a nice clear cut there. And again, we're pushing it against there, we're holding it down, and we're pushing it forward. So there's your table saw, and you can see I left the fence in the same place. You can see that we have some nice duplicate cuts right there. So that's your table saw.